If you've considered hiring virtual assistants from the Philippines, in this video, I want to dive into some cultural considerations to think about before jumping in. The cultural, this would be like a bullet pointed list of cultural considerations, just differences between their culture and ours. And again, like you said, we're
talking about employees in the Philippines.
Yeah.
What we've seen or what we've researched, what I've researched regarding these employees. So
obviously just time zone, like that's a difference between like how is it going to be having someone that is working the graveyard shift their time for your regular hours or vice versa.
And consider that in the US we have multiple time zones. I don't think they do. I'm pretty sure they're all in one time zone, but that's something to consider as well. So you need to tell them which time zone and which part of the US that you're in.
Yeah. And honestly, everyone that they all have I feel like across the board, every virtual assistant we've worked with is 10 times more tech savvy than the average American that we talk to. They've got apps and Chrome extensions and stuff on
I forgot to add that to my list. Very, very tech savvy country. Mm-hmm. And I recently saw a study about the hours of use of like a computer by country in social media, and the Philippines was like number 3 on the list. Like because
they're doing all the social media for every other
online. Yeah. Yes, they're doing a lot online.
One thing, just like internet connectivity, I would say that it's not like super common, and I would even say if there's a particular employee that is frequently having excuses of their internet going out, that's a red flag in my opinion. But it's not unusual that there could be a big storm and internet takes out, or the storm takes out internet in like a region or something.
They are on islands, so
but again, storms. I would say that's most of our employees. It'll be like an outage for 4 hours or something, and then they're back on top of it. But I would say that's again, their internet goes out far more than it does in America because our internet never goes out, or at least it's like very unusual that we lose internet. And over there, it might happen once a quarter, maybe, for like a solid employee. And I guess potentially it also depends where they live.
It does, and some of them will have, if they work virtually full time, they will have backup systems or solutions to make sure that they're maintaining internet. So they may not be able to like upload a big file for you, but they're going to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, I'm having spotty internet today. Yeah. So this is what's going on.
And that actually, this is a plug for when we talk about the interview process. I don't know if you would agree with this, but we've told we're pretty ruthless on if you're going to miss an appointment, even if it's 30 minutes in advance of oh shoot, I lost my internet. That's not that crazy. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Let's reschedule. If someone gets back to you 4 hours after the meeting happened and they're like, oh, sorry, I didn't have internet. In my opinion, it's I don't really buy it, especially on your first if it just so happened that there was a crazy storm right when they were applying for your job in their first interview. That's just really unfortunate circumstances,
and I recommend you could look and see, are there big outages? There were a number of times where I was like, oh, I shouldn't do interviews today because it looks like there are a bunch of storms. Yeah. So it's we're going to have a lot of people missing these short interviews. But if they're responding to you 2 days later, 5 days later saying, hey, can I reschedule that? Sorry. I'm like, well, no, sorry. You weren't taking this very seriously.
Many different ways to reach out and get in touch.
Yeah. And on that note, moving quickly in the hiring process is important because a lot of employees in the Philippines may have they're applying for multiple jobs. They have multiple jobs. And so if you're like, hey, this is going to be a month-long process to hire, that's probably going to be too slow for them to be able to consider your job.
Yeah. In fact, the first VA that we ever hired, and you can tell that story of how we found out months later that she had accepted a different job. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I basically, it was I'll get back to you, and I said, I'll get back to you in 3 days because I was finishing where I had let people reschedule interviews with me, and she had accepted another job, and then we came in with a job offer that was more appealing, which was great.
Well, what was more appealing was she legitimately said, I liked Natalie more than my other boss, and so she took the job. So luckily...
Thank goodness, because...
Luckily, Natalie has a magnetic personality because we almost lost this rock star who then inspired us to go back and hire, 5 more.
But that
So,
was because I thought, hey, I can move pretty slowly and really, give all these other people an opportunity. And it was like, I just needed to
and the
go
thing
with
that's
my
crazy
gut.
is that when Natalie says move slowly, like you were
A
like
week.
a week.
Yeah, from
Like
start to finish.
we tell people, like if you're going to hire a virtual assistant,
Yeah, be ready.
like literally it would be like you post the job, say Friday, you are starting interviews Monday, Tuesday, you maybe have second interviews Wednesday, Thursday, and you should be making an offer Friday. And if you can move faster, like if you come across a rock star, like offer them a job Wednesday if you can, just because like if you think about it, there's just so many companies from all over the world that are like doing interviews constantly. And I would say that's actually probably another thing that is great to ask. It's like, are you looking at applying for other jobs? What
I'll
type
get
of
into
jobs
that
are you
when we
talking
talk
about? So,
when we talk about the portal or the
but you do
job.
have to move quickly because there's a lot of movement in jobs over there.
Last couple of things for cultural considerations that I'll just hit really quickly. A lot of virtual employees, they just make sure you're being human and you're treating them like humans, because a lot of them have been ghosted or blown off by employers in the US who just like stopped paying them and things like that. You hear a bunch of horror stories, and it makes sense why they may be like a little bit reserved in asking for time off or things like that, because they have in the past like been fired for no reason or not been fired, like I said, and just been ghosted. And so just be upfront and communicate with them like you would an in-person employee, because it's going to actually probably be exceeding like an expectation that they've come across already. And then final thing, this is my take on this cultural consideration. From all the discussions I've had with people in the Philippines, I think discussing pay rate is a little awkward. I think it is for everybody. But I've actually had people that have been like, I need to take a minute, like in an interview, because they weren't expecting me to say, so what would you like to be paid? Just like saying it really bluntly. And so beware of that I think it's good to throw it out there, but then it's also good to be willing to kind of lead that discussion and say, this is where we could start you. And in the course of 12 months, if this is working out, here are these milestones to where we can give you raises. So just kind of lay it out there instead of putting it on them to come with like a proposal for you.
Thanks so much for watching. This is a clip from a longer video that my wife and I did on hiring virtual assistants. You can find the full-length video down below. If you're a painter, please subscribe to the channel. We are here just for you. If you're not a painter, like the video, and we will see you in the next video.